In this video, I want to demonstrate to you how to create isometric drawings in AutoCAD. So this kind of picks up in chapter 15 of your textbook and follows along with the teachings of that using the isometric snap mode along with ISO circles. So here we've got a drawing that a picture of a drawing that I just pasted into AutoCAD so that you can kind of see what I'm talking about and what we're working with. So we have our orthographic views, we have our top view, and we have our front view and our right side view, and this is the pictorial view, also called an isometric view. So that's what we're going to draw over here to the right of this is the isometric view. So I like to have all of my orthographic views completely finished, and I like to have them dimensioned as well so that I can use those numbers to help me rapidly create the isometric view. So the isometric view is really the least important view of the drawing, and it should be the last one that you create. So you want to get your orthographic views exactly right with all the details and dimensions on those orthographic views. Don't place any dimensions on your isometric views. Don't show hidden lines in your isometric views, and create that view last. So I'm going to go ahead and get started, and this particular view is really turned around backwards in my opinion based on these, or not my opinion, but it's definitely turned around backwards based on these orthographic views. So I'm going to draw it the correct way. So the front view would be on what we call the isoplane left, and the right side view will be on the isoplane right. So I'm going to draw it turned around the correct way to match these orthographic views. First thing I want to do is to notice that right now our crosshairs, or our drawing pointing device, is just a straight crosshairs drawing vertical and horizontal lines with the ortho mode turned on. So I want to change that snap mode from rectangular mode to isometric mode. So I'm going to go to my grid icon here, and I'm going to right mouse click. I'm in the status bar on the grid icon and select settings. So for my drafting settings dialog box on the snap and grid tab, and under snap type, I'm going to change the grid snap from rectangular snap to isometric snap. So I'm going to pick OK, and I'm going to turn that on and pick OK there. So notice now how my pointing device is slanted, and there's three planes that we can draw on. There's what's called isoplane left, which is what we have now, and we can press the F5 key to toggle between those planes. So when I press F5, notice the command line says isoplane top, F5 again, isoplane right, F5 again, isoplane left. So I'm going to draw this view with my isoplane left matching the front view. So I'm going to use the line tool, and I'm just going to start at some convenient location over here, and I'm going to go straight up. One of the most important things I can tell you about drawing these isometric views is to keep your ortho mode turned on, because if you accidentally turn ortho mode off and your lines are not perfectly aligned with these axes that this isometric snap is holding you to, then your isometric view is going to be all distorted and everything won't pan out exactly right. So if you have to turn ortho mode off for a temporary short period of time, turn it off and then turn it right back on, and make sure that you're drawing with ortho mode turned on. So the overall height of this part is 1.5, and then I'm going to go back this way, it's another 1.5. I'm going to go down the difference between 1.5 and 0.5, which would be 1. And I'm going to go over the difference between 3.5 and 1.5, which is 2. And back down to 0.5 and close that up. And you can see how my isoplane left now is starting to resemble the front view here. Now there's one big difference in the front view and my isoplane, and that's this circular feature here. So I'm going to place that next. So instead of using circles when we're working in the isometric view, we have to create ellipses. So I'm going to use the axis end ellipse, and the axis end ellipse has three options: arc, center, and isocircle. I'm going to use the isocircle option, so I'm going to right mouse click, select isocircle, and I'm going to track off this endpoint straight over 0.75. Press the enter key, and then the radius is 0.5. So I'm just going to type in 0.5, And so now I've got the circular feature in there, and I can go ahead and trim that away. So now my isoplane left view resembles my front view. I'm going to switch my ISO modes to the isoplane top, and I'm going to draw a line straight over the width of this, which is 2. Now I could continue on and repeat that step, but one of the things that I find when I draw isometric views is that a lot of the times I can copy a lot of information to help kind of speed me along. So in this case, this back face is exactly like the front face, so I can simply copy those edges from the front using this endpoint to the back using that endpoint. And now I'm just going to tie the ends together with lines. So you can see we're quickly bringing our part into good order here. We need this slot placed in on this top of this panel. So again, that's going to be another ISO circle. What I'm going to do is locate the center of that by coming off the midpoint of this line, and the difference between 2.75 and 3.5 is what? 0.75, is it? I think so. Okay, and I'm going to draw another ISO circle. So again, I'm going to pick the axis end ellipse, use the ISO circle option, and if you start this ISO circle option and you realize you're in the wrong ISO mode plane, you can toggle while you're in the commands. It doesn't cancel the command, so you can make sure that you have your ellipse turned the correct way. So this also has a radius of 0.5, so I'm going to type in 0.5 for the radius value, and I'm going to zoom in here for a little bit so I can see a little bit better. Now, one of the things that we would normally do if this was an orthographic view is just start right on this quadrant and come out, but unfortunately the quadrant object snap is on the ellipse is not in the right spot. So what we want to do is just draw a line from the center straight out, and we can draw it out both ways like so. And now we can use those intersections, and we can just go straight out a little ways. You could type in the exact distance if you want, but I'm going to go ahead and use the trim. So I'll trim the ellipse away, and I'm going to trim this line away, and I'm going to trim those up. And I can go ahead and erase these construction lines. Now I need to make the same thing, so I'm going to go I want to go down. Notice I'm going the wrong direction, so I'm going to press my F5 key to toggle in the ISO plane right. I'm going to go down 0.5, and I'm going to go down from this one also 0.5. Now, just like we copied the front face to the back face, I'm going to copy this slot downward as well. So I'm going to pick copy, and I'm going to copy from this endpoint to that endpoint, and now I'm going to trim away the parts that you can't see. So those are my cutting edges. I'm going to trim this line and that line. Alright, so we're getting closer. We need to put an ISO circle in here so it's right in the center. Down, the whole thing is 1.5, so it's down 0.5 over 1. So I'm going to pick my axis end ellipse, use the ISO circle option. Again, I'm in the ISO plane right, so I'm going to track straight down off this midpoint, 0.5, and then my diameter, so I'm going to use the diameter option, is 0.5. So now I have the hole for that ellipse, and there's only one thing left, and a little detail here where this line would actually be going on through the part. We can't see it past this ellipse, so I'm going to trim it to that ellipse. And now we've created this isometric view, and this isometric view matches the orthographic views that are laid out in this manner. So this is the way your isometric view should be arranged for this particular drawing. Hopefully this helps you kind of get your feet under you with your isometric views. We're going to do a few of these, or a couple of these, or one or two of these, but but this is not a big part of what I expect anybody to do in the workforce. In most cases, if you're required to draw isometric views of parts like this, chances are your employer is using a parametric solid modeling package such as Autodesk Inventor, Pro Engineer, or Creo, CATIA, or SolidWorks. And when you create those parts with those modelers, this isometric view basically comes along with it at no additional effort. So I got a feeling if you're creating a lot of isometric views that you're going to be using a different software package, or maybe the solid modeling capabilities within AutoCAD as well. But that's going to be a lot easier way to create these isometric views instead of this two-dimensional isometric view. But anyway, I hope this helps get you started. If you have any questions, please give me a call or send me an email. Thanks.